Did you notice it? Did you feel the sudden kind of shocking, disconcerting shift? Mere moments ago, we were shouting. And then with no real warning, suddenly we're praying. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eye wastes away from grief, my soul and body also. It happened in a flash, like going up and down an emotional roller coaster. What happened? Well, life happened. From the heights of joy and celebration, it turns out that death, in fact, is near. Betrayal is right around the corner. A sleepless night of pleading and weeping awaits. Denial by those closest and a sham trial by the powerful will not be stopped. The hot potato of responsibility will be negotiated, and in the end, all will wear a decision, crying, "Crucify him." Mockery, humiliation, suffering, death follows. For I hear the whispering of many, our psalmist laments, terror all around as they scheme together against me, as they plot to take my life. It was a different time, an unknown trouble that our psalmist faced. And yet the cry of lament echoes through the ages and finds its way to our own lips. Our ancient ancestors didn't hold back in their joys or in their troubles. They knew pain and grief in particular were not intellectual exercises. Our feelings are physical. My eye wastes away from grief, our psalmist writes, my soul and body also. My strength fails because of misery, my bones waste away. There is no toxic positivity here, no denial of fear or anxiety, no easy dismissal of injustice. There is instead prayerful, white-knuckle faith and hard-fought hope amidst the painful reality of whatever it is that that psalmist was facing. But I trust in you, O Lord, the psalmist declares, perhaps through gritted teeth. I say, you are my God. Today, Jesus is facing hard times ahead. It might be hard to imagine, impossible to accept for those seated around the dinner table at Simon's house in Bethany. It begins as a rather placid dinner scene until some unknown, unnamed woman boldly interrupts with an extravagant expression of love in the anticipation of loss, which is another way of saying grief. The reaction of those around the table to this unknown, unnamed woman's generous and courageous act of grief is anger. Why do we find great love, courageous, generous love, so threatening? Jesus doesn't know either, for he chastises, let her alone. Why do you trouble her? Maybe her act was so disarming in its vulnerability that attack and accusation were the only way, or at least the fastest way, for the bystanders to protect themselves from a difficult truth. At any rate, Jesus has none of it. She has performed a good service for me, he says, for you always have the poor with you, and you can show kindness to them whenever you wish, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for its burial. And there it is, truth spilled out all over the floor, right alongside the costly ointment of nard. Jesus senses that a plot is afoot, and why not? Impending death is a fairly predictable outcome given what has transpired recently. a triumphant entry into Jerusalem with the people hailing Jesus and shouting, "Hosanna, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming of our ancestor David." This isn't exactly what the actual rulers want to hear. It sounds a lot like treason. And then there's the incidents in the temple, with Jesus flipping out and flipping tables and his authority being questioned and him challenging the scribes and warning of darkness and destruction to come. Jesus didn't exactly fly under the radar of the empire. So a quiet dinner out in the burbs of Bethany, it's maybe itself just a little disconcerting. Our loving, courageous woman today has none of it. The times are troubled. She chooses to prepare for the inevitable and offer an expression of love while she still can. Today, we too prepare for the coming troubles, the gathering storm. We enter this week that we call holy by following the example of our ancient forebears, with no separation between body, mind, and spirit. We enter a week full of sacramental experience, those outward physical signs of inward spiritual grace. We enter deeply into the story of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, our sacred story of love and salvation, with our bodies as with our hearts and souls and minds.